Aaron, those literally moments after he's out there on 9/11 bringing out the American flag. And we couldn't get enough of Rodgers all offseason. And hand up, I'm one that complained about it, but guess what? I watched every minute of it. It's not like I was turning away when people were talking about this Aaron Rodgers story. And the NFL schedule makers did not do them any favors. Okay. It is going to be rough sledding. So if it's Zach Wilson, which we all assume it is, they say it is, here you go right out of the gates. Oh, nice. Thanks for coming in and saving the Bills game. You did your part. Now you got to go to Dallas. Then you got to play New England. That defense looks really strong. Here's Patrick Mahomes. Denver's always a tough place to play at. And then the Eagles all before your first bye. Then you can take a breath.
Yeah, this is really tough because, in a lot of ways, not only is it Aaron Rodgers, but now you were kind of forced to buy into this, I would say, before the Aaron Rodgers injury, but it was kind of this relationship between Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett, and how much blame Hackett kind of deserved for the fallout that happened with Russell Wilson last year in Denver, and just how impactful he actually was to the lack of success that they actually had. And now, going back to it, like, Hackett's probably going to be coaching up a quarterback that has been probably the worst guy that he's had in the building in quite some time. So I think defensively, the Jets are still very much going to be there, but there's just not a lot of hope, I would say, for them to actually be, an upper echelon elite type team in the AFC, especially given the next 4-game schedule that they have. I think the first 5 games of the season, counting that Bills game, was easily probably the most difficult stretch of any team in football. And to face that now without Aaron Rodgers in the fold, and they very much, even if they do get a veteran guy kind of in the building, not going to be ready, I would say, to really kind of contribute until that week 4, week 5 type time frame if they do make a move here basically today. So I think it's, very much, it's hard to fade them as 8.5-point favorites, against Dallas, but I very much think they're a spot that you kind of need to see it or prove from them first that Zach Wilson is at least capable of navigating an NFL offense before you'd really want to buy into them. But I do think it kind of changes the complexion of, the AFC East in general quite a bit as well. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins, looked really good and poised and are now kind of the odds-on favorite, I would say, at DraftKings at like plus 135 to win that division. In a lot of ways, you maybe missed the boat on that a little bit, so I'm not quite sure there's a futures play on it. But kind of going back to the discussion with Josh Allen, like, if you do think he can still kind of, I would say, get to that level of where he was at, in the 2020 and the 2021 season, like, I do think the Bills at plus 145 could kind of come away from the AFC East and could kind of be those contenders, because I just don't think, with the Jets and the Patriots and where they're going to be at offensively, I don't see either one of those teams really kind of in the fold. So it seems like you're either, buying late on the Dolphins or maybe buying low on the Buffalo Bills. And I would prefer to, I would say, kind of gravitate towards the Bills in that scenario.
Comeback player. This is unbelievable.
Oh, no.
I am very surprised by the number of players that entered this conversation that I think are actually worth bringing up after 1 week. And DeMar Hamlin is still the favorite. And we've talked about it all summer. We believe he's going to win the award, just has to step on the field. He's inactive last night. So his number comes down to minus 200. Tua's right there at 7-1 as a second favorite. There's another 201. They made Ridley the third favorite. There's no way he wins that award, even though he's awesome.
I hope so. That would be great.
Speaking of awesome, Breece Hall last night. He's fourth at 16-1. Stafford was phenomenal in their win over the Seahawks. He's 20-1. A quarterback has won this award the last 5 times. I just find it interesting. Like, there are names like Baker and Russ at 40, Jimmy G at 60. Guys, if it's gonna be Zach Wilson playing in New York, 75-1. Oh my God!
No!
I think it's so interesting. If Hamlin's gonna miss next week, like, this is going to be a very interesting conversation throughout the year, and not even mention Mechie. Are you kidding me? Everything he's going through, like, he's getting no support.
I just can't get involved with Tua in the MVP market. There's just too much in terms of his history with injuries. Everything else is there, but there's just not enough value when I'm not sure if he's going to stay healthy. I hope he does, and I hope the Dolphins do big things this year, but it's just something that I don't want to put my money on. A place I looked, and we talked about it a little bit already, where I'm really seeing value, and I hope there's room on the bandwagon because I
No.
am admitting I was
Which one?
wrong. Brock
No.
Purdy and the
Oh,
Niners.
okay.
I
Yeah.
could really see a case. I could really
Yeah.
see a case. I know the guy's got a great story, and it's like, oh, this guy can't really be that good, but maybe he is. Maybe he's working his butt off. Micah Parsons went on a podcast yesterday and was like, this guy's a top 15 quarterback. He's really good. I don't think we should sleep on him. And I'm kind of turning a corner. I've been down on this Niners team, and I'm sort of changing my tune rather quickly after one game, but you look at the schedule and it's kind of hard to deny. I'm not sure if I can keep the fade the Niners bit going after what I saw and looking at their schedule. And of course, he's got a talented roster around him. So I think there's value on Brock Purdy.
It is something where, and I'm really glad you brought him up because I was staring at that number 2 at 30-1 on BetMGM. It is something where I go, 30-1 is not bad for Purdy because there are things you can point to that would explain why the number is a little bit longer. For instance, Aaron, you mentioned the schedule. Well, the Niners do have to face 4 teams coming off of buys. So the schedule actually is a little bit tougher than perhaps, it's led to believe.
Later
so there
on.
is that.
Yeah.
Yeah, later on, I think it really is. So there is that element. The other thing, too, is when it comes to, say, hashtag narrative, I keep wondering, okay, when it comes to 49ers success, who's going to get the credit? Is it Kyle Shanahan, which means he gets Coach of the Year? Is it one of the role players, which means you need to look at Offensive Player of the Year for some value? And if you do that, then you're looking at, near the top of the board here, Christian McCaffrey at 10-1. I mentioned before about this notion that running backs may be taken a little more seriously when it comes to Offensive Player of the Year because contractually they've been receiving no respect and no credit whatsoever. So maybe this is an opportunity to give back to the running back position specifically with this award. And look, Christian McCaffrey is a great pass catching back, so there is that element too. But when it comes to who to give credit for when it comes to potential 49ers success, what about Brandon Ayuk? Is he someone we want to take a flyer on, Joe? 50-1.